Welcome. My name is Zainab Talib, and I'm the project coordinator for the Canadian Science Policy Centre. I'm pleased to be joined today by Nancy Hamzawi, the president of the Public Health Agency of Canada. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your organization's support of the Canadian Science Policy Centre, and thank you for your support as an active member at the centre as well.
Thank you. It is fantastic to be here at the conference, and looking forward to 2026, hopefully.
Yes, very soon, hopefully. How would you balance the urgency of a public health response with the need for a robust scientific rigor?
Interesting question. I guess what I would say, I don't think it's an either or. I think it's really important we need to be able to do both. At FAC, we have our FAC Science Strategy, which gives us a vision to 2030, and it's embedded right into our science strategy to integrate science in our public health emergencies, throughout our public health emergencies, and as we prepare for what the future may hold in terms of future public health events, and to make sure that we strengthen our implementation science in terms of our response. I would say in terms of key building blocks, number one would be absolutely preparing between emergencies, making sure we maintain the strength of our networks, the breadth of our networks, and to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place to be able to be ready when we need to call upon on those strengths. Throughout COVID, and as we prepare for the future, a second key pillar would be rapid research prioritization. It was incredible what we achieved across the country and tapping our international networks, but that ability to very quickly really find out where the gaps are and address them with the best available science as quickly as possible. And then I would say the third key pillar is around our knowledge systems and our scientific expertise, recognizing that absolutely within the agency we have incredible leading scientists, but also making sure that we can tap our partners to be able to have as comprehensive and broad depth in key areas for public health. So, for example, we have a new advisory committee on science that was established over the past year, who have been very, very helpful to us. We have expert panels in place on mpox, avian influenza. All of those are all extremely helpful as we're prepared for the future. And I guess I might just also add, through COVID, recognizing the COVID experience and lessons learned, recognizing we will tap the best available science at that time, but the art of explaining uncertainty in a very quickly evolving situation is also a skill and an art that we're also perfecting over time.
Science strategy for the Public Health Agency of Canada prioritizes advancing data science and public health surveillance. What do you see as the most pressing challenges in improving public health data systems?
Interesting. Maybe I'll talk about, I'll frame it as key principles that we're continuing to raise the bar on. The first would be transparency and communications. That is, in order to be able to, with the ultimate objective to support people in Canada in making decisions for their own health, as being as transparent as possible and communicating in a way where they feel well equipped to be able to make those decisions. That I think is very critical and is something that we continue to evolve over time. And that includes engaging experts, equipping those experts with the best available science that we've been able to pull together through the various tables that we convene. So I would say that's number one. Number two, making sure we have we're tapping multidisciplinary networks. We're creating those spaces and knowledge mobilization, I would say. So for example, one of my favorites is the Canadian Public Health Lab Network, which is federal, provincial, territorial, but really pulling that intelligence from a lab perspective. We have an external modeling network, which also was very important through the COVID experience, and we continue to benefit from that expertise. I would also say an equity focus. Addressing, really being meaningfully and robustly addressing social and structural barriers. And so making sure that we can tap that data and ensure that that's very clearly part of the equation as decision makers consider, including individual Canadians make decisions for their own health. Building stakeholder trust, that is a significant area of focus in terms of the times that we're living now. It is a complex time. Building that trust, reaching out and building those relationships with community leaders. There are so many communities we are engaged with, and we need to continue to develop further in an age of mis and disinformation. And all of that, before even talking about our core infrastructure around surveillance. So there's a I could keep going on for another 20 minutes if you like on this question, but just to say, it's such an important area, and that is, we live and breathe that every single day.
What strategies would you use to ensure public health programs are equitable and responsive to differences across populations?
Interesting. Maybe I'll start in terms of this question on our core capacity of surveillance and foresight. We're really driving towards a modern, integrated, equity-driven data ecosystem. That's what we feel we are developing now, and we're continuing to improve every single day. But I would say if there was one area where we're really focused on now, it's around interoperability and technology modernization. We are living in a rapidly evolving time in this space, but that having our data, the quality of data and the ability to access all of those data sets in an interoperable way has been a journey, and we're looking. I see the light. The light is at the end of this tunnel, but it is that determination to be able to have those data sets speaking to each other, and the power of AI. So that is an area where we're focused in on. I would say in terms of our priorities now at the agency, we're looking at modernizing our data systems with that in mind, integrating diverse data sources across jurisdictions. We have 13 jurisdictions across the country and across sectors. There are, hospitals, public health organizations, there's community groups trying to really tap all of those data sets. And then having equity and ethics embedded in our data governance, that is a big conversation, and ultimately leading to evidence-based public health decisions.
What emerging public health threats do you believe Canada needs to focus on in the next 5 years?
It's interesting. We at the agency, little known fact, every morning our key experts, the Chief Public Health Officer, usually I'm on the call too. Every single day there's a call talking about what we're seeing in terms of the scan across the country and the world. So not only is it the next 5 years, every single day we're revisiting what the threats are of the day. Every week we have more of a foresighting in terms of emerging threats. So we do have quite a robust risk prioritization initiative that looks at immediate, short-term, medium-term, and longer term, and looking at it from the perspective of infectious diseases, obviously avian influenza, top of mind, various respiratory diseases, non-communicable diseases, so heart and lung disease, clearly very high on the list, but also natural hazards and climate change. We now have a regular season where we're preparing months in advance. We know when the wildfire season will typically begins in terms of that window, and we're prepared for both for wildfires and heat events. But maybe I'll take this from contextually. What are key drivers that also keep us awake at night? Cybersecurity threats to health infrastructure and data. Although AI is a very, very powerful tool, but there is the threat of AI in terms of facilitating mis and disinformation. That is something that keeps us awake at night. I should have started with declining vaccine coverage. And so that vaccine hesitancy is something that we are every day reflecting on and reflecting on what more we can do in that space. The public health system's capacity to manage simultaneous crises and responding to the immediate pressures and demands of people in Canada. And then I would say, last but not least, the changing climate. That is something that does keep us awake at night, and we're constantly looking at doing everything we can to be prepared. The opioids and the toxic drug crisis, that has been a crisis that has affected too many people for too long, and continuing to look at ways that we can respond to this very complex crisis.
Finally, what is your opinion of the value of the Canadian Science Policy Centre and its position in the community as a connection hub, knowledge mobilizer, and talent incubator in the science and innovation policy landscape?
That's a fantastic question. I think this conference has been around for at least 15, 16 years. This is the place to be. Like that, I've worked at, currently at Public Health Agency, Health Canada, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Natural Resources Canada. I can keep going, agriculture. Anyway, just to say that in all of these organizations, every fall, everyone wants to be here. It's because we connect as a federal community. You meet your colleagues here in a very inspiring environment where you connect with academia, industry, so all of the key players in the science and policy space, and that as a federal employee and as a federal leader, what we are constantly focused on the science policy interface to make sure that we're bringing the best possible scientific advice to inform decisions, recognizing that there are other streams of advice that ultimately inform decisions that are made by the government, but learning how to do that better in a time of wicked problems are the challenges that the world is facing, that Canada is facing. They're becoming more and more complex over time. And so this conference has been great in terms of connecting with new thought leaders and with just opportunities to check your frame and to keep that modern learning journey that each of us undergo up to date. So absolutely, this is a place to be, and that's why I keep coming every single year.
We love having you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Nancy. It's been a pleasure having you. I enjoyed this conversation.